Skidmarks here. Thanks for viewing my little video. I wanted to throw a little history at you, just to get your mind thinking. In 1899, the U.S. decided it wanted to free the Philippines from the inhabitants of the Spanish. This was all quite welcomed by the Filipinos, except some of the tribesmen that lived in the southern parts of the Philippines, known as the Moros. Moros literally translates as Muslims. The Moros wanted no part of it. They wanted their independence, and they set out to battle the U.S. Last man standing kind of mentality. All they had was machete-like devices, and one of the things they loved dearly was opium. They'd get so stoked up on opium that the weaponry of the U.S. didn't do much to them to stop them from charging and hacking away at the U.S. soldiers. They were very good at this. The U.S. military realized real fast that the .38 caliber round that they had in their pistols had little to no effect on the Moros. The Moros would just get blasted up with them, 6 rounds of .38, keep on coming until they'd hack them all up and bleed to death. The U.S. military realized quickly that they needed to come up with a different round. They set out to find something that would aid the soldiers that were doing the battle and dying. They pulled out of inventory old Colt, frontiersman, cowboy guns that were used to fight the Indians in .45 long Colt. Literally brought these back to the soldiers in the Philippines, and guess what started working? It would knock them down. No more hacking of the soldiers. A .45 caliber bullet of about 200 to 250 grains, traveling at 700 to 750, 800 feet per second, was doing the job that the .38 would not do. Military figured out we need to do something new, and they set out to eventually develop the .45 ACP. Now let's stay with that time period of 1800 to 1930. The U.S. police departments weren't paying attention to what was going on in Moros War. They continued to use .38 specials because they already had them. They weren't going to invest in something new. They would shoot the bad guys with little or no effect, and the bad guys would shoot back with more potent ammunition. .45 ACP, .38 Super. And 1935 came along with the .357 Mag. The reason the .357 Magnum was developed was because the .38 Smith & Wesson, .38 Police Positive, the .38 Special, they were not effective. .357 Magnum was the mainstay of all police departments because it knocked them down. Along comes 1959, and Smith & Wesson started developing a semi-automatic pistol in 9mm. The Illinois State Police in 1964 thought, you know, these old .357 Magnums, these big wheel guns are too heavy for our policemen to carry. Everybody's complaining that's just too heavy. So Smith & Wesson developed the Model 39 Smith & Wesson and made it with an aluminum frame. Most of us at that time thought, you're crazy, who wants an aluminum gun? That won't work. Plastic today, right? The Illinois State Police went over to that Smith & Wesson 39, and man, the world took notice. Didn't jump on the bandwagon right away, but they thought, wow, this was big news. But the Illinois State Police realized pretty quick they were shooting bad guys. Not with 6 rounds, 8 rounds. They were shooting bad guys with 9mm Luger. 8 rounds of it. Weren't stopping them. This was not going well. What did the Illinois State Police do? Hey, let's talk to Smith & Wesson. Build the 59, Model 59, 9mm with 15 rounds. If you can't get around to knock them down, just shoot a lot of them at him. It might work. It would appear it has never worked. So what did somebody decide to do? Well, the 9mm was really catching on with all the police departments because of all this firepower. Again, ignoring the fact that it wasn't really doing the job. So the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, decided to, after they had a horrible police experience in Miami where the cops were, FBI officers were outgunned, they decided, they went off the deep end. We need something big and bad. We need the 10mm. Jeff Cooper's 10 mil was very powerful. And the FBI thought, deep end, we're going as big and bad as we can get. Well, the dainty hands of most of the agents out in the field couldn't handle the 10mm. And they started complaining right away. We can't hit anything with it. It's too powerful, too much muzzle flash. It jumps up. It does this, that, and the other. Everybody ignored the fact that it was probably really doing a wallop on anybody they did hit with it. So Smith & Wesson came back with the idea, let's go with the Smith & Wesson Model 40 caliber. 40 caliber Smith & Wesson, a shortened down 10 mil. That really worked very well. That seemed to work. And it fit 9mm type frames. So if you had a current frame with a 9mm in it, the developers, the manufacturers could work up a 40 cal in a 9mm frame pretty quick. It was a big hit. A lot of power, a lot of knockdown power. 165 grain, 180 grain bullets, even 200 grain bullets that would do what the Army figured out back in 1899. So eventually we got to a point where, of late, everybody is going back to the Wonder 9. The Wonder 9. 9mm Luger is going to be the end-all, beat-all, because the FBI did another test. After the boys all whined about the 40 was too much, they came up with an idea that, you know, with all the newfangled ways that we can figure out how to develop, test around, it would appear the 9mm would do just about as good as the 40 or the 45. What were we thinking? So they started going back to the 9, and so did all the police departments. But no one's reading what the FBI's report really says. It says that it probably, or most probably, would do the same as the 40, Smith & Wesson, and the 45. It could be controlled by lesser agents, small women, small men, whatnot. And most importantly, and it's in the report, go find it, it cost half of a 40 Smith & Wesson. The 9mm NATO is so mass-produced that it's affordable to the FBI and to the police departments. If you have a budget and you can chop the amount of your ammunition down by half, who wouldn't do that? Who cares what the cops need or what they think? So, the police are all jumping on board with the 9 because the FBI says so. I have a cop friend. I actually have a friend in St. Louis whose brother is a cop at one of the larger police departments, and he said he's got insider information. The number one reason they're going to the 9mm Glock and turning in their 40 cals is cost. The cost of the ammunition is again half. Again, what reason? Cost. Not because it's the right round for everyone. It's because of cost. I'll give you an idea of something that came to my mind. If you were on a trail, a rocky trail, various size rocks, and you were suddenly confronted by a mountain lion, you had no weapon. All you had was rocks to choose from. Which rock would you pick up to throw at the mountain lion? Another thought is the 9 over the 45. 45 ACP was developed with the Army's realization in 1899 that the Moros, all stoked up on opium, weren't affected by smaller slow speed bullets. The 45 ACP was developed around the fact that a 200 to 250 grain bullet traveling at approximately 7 to 850 feet per second did the job. Why people want to argue why the original 9mm Luger was 115 grain, then became the 124 grain. I wonder why that happened. And now it's the 147 grain. 45 ACP still got a 230 grain bullet. No new and improved method there, it just still works. Another thing to think about as you deliberate all this amongst yourselves, the latest thing is that a 9mm with a large hollow cavity will again stop everybody in their tracks, or at least put them down. Something that many of us have found is that large hollow cavities, when clogged up with clothing or maybe a bear's hair or anything that would clog up that large cavity, the bullet doesn't expand. You've got a 9mm or 355 caliber bullet going in and it's doing nothing. Everything's predicated on this thing expanding. So as you shop around for whatever caliber you choose, also shop around for what kind of projectile you might want to use as self-defense. Don't base things on what the Army does or what the military are doing, or current military, or what the police departments are doing. Do your own research. Go out and do your own tests, whatever they are. Milk jugs, wet newspapers, whatever satisfies your criteria for what's going to save you. And make sure that that ammunition works. A large cavity kind of hollow point is a power ball, and Hornady makes something similar to this with a polymer projectile in the end that doesn't clog up and still gives you radical expansion on any creature that you need to shoot it at, whether it be a mountain lion or a human or a wild pig. I hope this gives you some ideas. You don't need to beat me up with comments. I know I'm wrong, right? Why should I have an opinion? But I'll leave you with this one last comment that a famous old gun store owner slash gunsmith, probably the best gunsmith I ever knew, and his old phrase was saying, never enter a bowling tournament with a bag of marbles. Hey, Skidmarks here. Thanks for listening to me. Don't hate me too bad. Bye now.